Welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about your experiences as a buyer and what you've seen in the past. Have you had good experiences buying online or bad experiences buying online? How does that make you feel? And are you a good seller? Are you somebody who takes reselling serious and offers great service? Let's go into a little bit more depth about this and discuss why it's important and how it can affect your sales. My name is Ann, and I've been reselling along with my husband Bill for quite a few years, and we're just here to share our experiences and hopefully learn from you as well. Building a community of resellers who want to take it serious and offer good services. So let's get into this. In the meantime, as always, as usual, we will pull some orders along the way. So let's get started with the first order that we have. So this is going to be a boat part. We recently cleaned out a storage unit, and it was actually one of the top dealers in South Carolina of boat parts. And we've done really well with it. This is one of those items. So I did wrap it up in a plastic bag just to make sure everything stays clean and orderly. But this sold, it's a V-belt for Mercury Boats Johnson. It's by Quicksilver, so it's an OEM part. This sold for $25 free shipping. So this one is the Apostles Hymn to Pan. Now this only sold for $17.50 free shipping, but we'll still make a few dollars off of it. It was listed for quite some time, so we have it on a discounted price right now. So that went out. That's a good thing. So the first thing I would say about giving out quality customer service for your buyers is make sure that you have honest listings. Now that entails a lot of different things. Honest listings include good descriptions, good pictures, but there's certain things you want to make sure that you include in these descriptions and pictures. One thing is, are there any defects to the item? I recently listed, it was a vase, but it had just a little tiny chip, barely noticeable. Like if you weren't looking for it, you probably wouldn't have seen it. Well, I made sure there was a picture of that chip and I mentioned it in the description. The other thing I would say is make sure that you include any measurements that you have. I like to take a tape measure and actually measure the item in the pictures so that they can see the actual measurements. I also find that by doing it this way, I can get through listings quicker. Other times, and I do this sometimes as well, you can put the measurements in the description. Either way is fine, just so the customer can find it and can relate to that item. Also, don't forget to add any special characteristics. Sometimes it's positive things, not just negative things. So those are all tips for taking good pictures and honest descriptions. Also, make sure there's good lighting. Lighting is very important. You don't want anything distracting in the background as well. So just a few tips there. So this one, honestly, I almost missed. So recently, I don't know if you watched my estate sale video, but I got a box full of utensils, and the whole reason I bought it was because it had an ice cream scoop in it that was very unique, and I personally just loved that scoop, and so I wanted to take that home. Now it ended up the ice cream scoop was worth more than what I thought it was, and it was a little heavier than what I really want to deal with day to day, so I did end up listing it. I really originally thought I was going to keep it for personal use, so it wasn't really for value, say, that I purchased this lot. Well, the ice cream scoop ended up being worth some money, so I did list it. I want to say it was like $50 or something like that. And it hasn't sold yet, but it is listed. And it is based off of sold comps. But in there, we found some basic, like this stuff looks so basic. And it is very basic utensils. But it said USN on the handle of the spoons. There's, what is there, 6 spoons and a fork here. And I didn't think anything of it, but it's the United States Navy is what it is. And so these ended up selling, and it was $35 plus shipping for a couple spoons and a fork. I never even, most people are looking for, sterling and things like that. This is just basic utensils, but it's marked USN. So you never know. My husband caught it, not me, so I got to give credit where credit's due, but that was a unique sale in my opinion. So we have another record here too. So here's an Allman Brothers band. It sold for $25 for shipping. Another thing about making sure you are providing your buyers good service and being a responsible seller is you want to make sure that your pricing is fair. And honestly, if your pricing isn't fair, most of the time you're not going to make the sale anyways. So it does help the seller and the buyer to offer fair pricing. Now, what do I mean by fair pricing? How do you decide what to price at? Well, my suggestion is on eBay, they do have sold listings. So look at the solds. Just because you can look at listings that are active right now, but the problem with only looking at active listings is people can ask whatever they want for an item. That doesn't mean they're going to get it. So my suggestion is look at active or at sold comps, actually sold items on eBay, and base it off of that. Now you still might want to go over to active and see what your current competition is. And sometimes I'll be honest, I tend to go middle to high just because I do have a sales program in place to bring it back down to regular pricing. And so that is how I suggest to do pricing. But if you offer fair pricing and you're giving a good product, people are going to buy it. The other thing is if your product does have some problems with it, you want to adjust your pricing accordingly. Like I said, that one item, it had a little bit of a chip. Now, it wasn't a very valuable item in the first place, but I did take a couple dollars off for it. All right, now the next item is the actual next 2 sales are exactly the same thing. This is an OEM part. It is a Mercury part by Quicksilver, and it's a Transamount Trim Switch Kit. And we actually sold 2 of these, and they were for 2 different customers. They bought them right after each other, which was really sort of strange because these weren't listed just like immediately and they bought right away. These are listed for a couple days, but they sold right after each other. And they did sell for $80 each, free shipping. And so we were really happy to see those come through. I have a customer that's really happy, and I'll tell you, many of them turn into repeat buyers because I give good deals when they're deserved. So that's what I'm talking about, pricing fairly. Customers are going to remember you, and you're going to get repeat business. The next thing that's really important is packaging. Now you want to make sure that you're packaging the items very safely and securely. Now, one thing that I have come into an issue with, especially with the vinyl records, is we actually take the vinyl records out of the sleeve. And we do that because when in shipping, it can actually slide and it can break the seam of the record board. And so we actually take it out and put it into another package, another sleeve. And this is something that customers, not all customers realized why we did it. And so we did educate them on it. I did actually a video on shipping vinyl records, but now because we were actually getting, some people loved it. People who understand records and shipping understand why we did it. But there were other people who didn't understand it. So we did put in our records, we put a description of why we actually ship it that way. And now we get huge compliments about our shipping program. And on top of it, I put a QR code to our store. And so we're getting repeat customers because of that. And it's a thank you note. And honestly, I really should be sending a thank you note with all my orders with a QR code to my store. Because when they get my packages, they see how secure and safe I'm taking time to make sure of this and making sure they're getting packages in good condition. Customers remember it and they'll come back. Whether you have a QR code or not, they do remember you. And we do get repeat customers about it. The other thing is you want to make sure you ship in a timely manner. Don't wait a week and then ship out the package. Why does Amazon do so good? Because they get you that package really, really quick. And customers know that. And they go back to Amazon because of it. Well, your customers are going to remember whether you get packages in quick or if they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting for that item that they've been waiting for. They're excited for what you're selling. So get it to them. Don't hold off and don't wait because customers will remember. Here's a perfect example of a repeat customer. On this one, it wasn't a vinyl record, so I don't have the thank you card in it. But this is a repeat customer. This is a Quicksilver part again, so for Mercury, OEM. It is a puller kit, and it sold for $30 plus shipping. So the next item I have is a service manual. This is also Mercury Marine, and it's a sport jet service manual. And this one sold for $30 free shipping. One thing I'd like to go back to, and it's sort of a combination of pricing and quality shipping, your shipping costs. Make sure when you're pricing an item that you're very clear about what your shipping costs are. Now, on eBay, they make it pretty simple to make sure it's clear. You can do free shipping, and then you include the cost of shipping in the sales price, which honestly, a lot of people like. It's very straightforward. They understand it. They know what it is. The other thing is, don't overcharge for shipping. Customers really get cranky if they feel like they're paying too much money for shipping, and it will go back in your feedback. And honestly, some customers will even ask for a refund if they think it's exorbitant, but doesn't mean you have to give it. But a good way to push off a customer is to not give fair shipping costs. Now, there are costs to shipping. You have shipping supplies, you got bubble wrap, you got boxes, you got, we do the packaging paper for most of our items. There are additional costs. Well, make sure when you're purchasing an item to sale that you have enough cushion in there to cover some of those extra costs. But be careful on what you charge for shipping. Now, I wouldn't undercharge for shipping. You either include it in the cost of the price of the item that the customer is purchasing, or you do, I really like calculated shipping with eBay. And that way it's fair for the customer and the buyer. Here's another really good one, another Quicksilver. Obviously, we've been listing a lot about parts right now. This is a Quicksilver OEM part for Mercury. It's it's a switch assembly. Basically, it's a key switch. And so this sold for $65, and the customer did pay shipping on it. Talk about an item that we have had around forever. This is an Elton John program, and it did sell for $29.93 free shipping. But let me tell you, I have had this thing for a really long time, and I'm so happy to see it go. But I do hope the customer does enjoy it. The next thing I would say that's really important is customer service. If somebody contacts you, even with a question, whether it's before or after they purchased an item, make sure you respond in a timely manner. You know, if I have somebody if I reach out to a vendor and it takes them 2 days to get back to me, I've probably moved on. It might not be that I don't understand, but it's more that I either lost interest by then or I've found somewhere else to purchase the item. Now, if it is about a concern about an item that they received, it's a lot better if you can nip it in the bud. Just get it taken care of. Now, I'm not saying you should automatically refund the person. I really don't agree with that, honestly. But you need to figure out what the situation is and see if there's something that we can help them with. Sometimes it might be like we've had watches that we've shipped out and they just weren't sure how to wind it, and we were able to walk them through it. Other times it has been that the item, we thought we described it well, but it wasn't correct. And so they were able to show us what the situation was. You know, and sometimes we have to refund the money. Sometimes there was one time where, you know, it had a screw. It was a watch opener where it helps you take off the cover, and it was missing a screw on it. We were able to mail them out the screw. Now, sometimes it does require a return, and this is where I do believe in good customer service. And we actually offer 100% returns on our items, no matter what it is. If you don't like it, you can return it. If it's broken, return it. Well, I'm not big on giving partial returns. And the reason being is I really do think that the customer should take the effort to return it. By doing it this way and making sure we're getting the items back, I feel that it has taken care of people trying to scam us. Partial refunds, I'm not saying we never do it. I actually did it recently, but I made sure I got to a point where I had a trust in the situation. By giving sometimes buyers, not all buyers are honest. I will say majority of buyers are honest. So I'm talking about the exception to the rule. But by not giving partial refunds, we don't worry about it as much, because one of the biggest scams out there is, you know, it was a little scuffed here. Why don't you just give me $10 off of it and we'll be good? Well, I don't do partial refunds. Just return it if you're not completely satisfied, and we'll leave it at that. We have found by doing it this way that, honestly, we very run into issues with scams on eBay or other platforms as well. And I think it's because we do have such a good reputation and we have policies in place to avoid it. So this is a pretty good one. This is Gabor Szabo. And honestly, I would have never thought that this record was worth as much as it is. It actually sold for $90 free shipping. Okay, here's Dangerous Games. It's by Alcatraz, and it sold for $19.95. And then we also have Power Trip. And this is When We Cut, We Bleed. And this sold for $12.50. Now this was a repeat buyer, so remember when I talked about fair pricing? This sat for a while, but we got it sold. And it's a repeat buyer. So this item is just some antique glasses that we got at an estate sale locally here. It was an auction estate sale, but it sold for $25 plus shipping. And then I do have one other item that is out in the shed, so I'll go get that in a bit. But it's just some fuel filters for Mercury by Quicksilver OEM parts. And I'll go run out to the shed in a bit here and get it. But there were 3 of them, and fuel filters don't sell for a ton, so we bundled them together, and we got $25, and then the customer did pay shipping. So a couple final thoughts here. One thing is you like to get good feedback, so don't forget to give the feedback to your customers as well. They enjoy getting their feedback and show appreciation with it. Now, eBay has it set up where you can have it sent automatically if you want to for your buyers. Now, the other thing I will say about this is I know a lot of people don't put an emphasis on their customer service, but your feedback score is extremely important on how new buyers are looking at you. I know when I go and purchase something, I want to see what the vendor's feedback is. You know, somebody will ask me, what do I think? And I'll be like, did you check the feedback of the vendor? Because eBay is great, and all these other platforms, Poshmark and Mercari, they're all great, but these are individual vendors on there, and so I want to know what their feedback is. And so I'm telling you, if you give good customer service, you're going to get good feedback and you'll get better sales because of it, because people will trust you. And what's the old adage? It has been proven that bad complaints, if you end up serving somebody poorly, they have a bad experience from you, it has been proven. There have been studies done on this where that's going to be out there a lot more than the positive feedback is. And so you don't want those negative feedbacks. I tell you, you get a negative feedback on eBay or these other platforms, it tends to shine a little bit brighter than the positive feedback. So avoid those negative feedbacks. Try to resolve them and get them taken care of. But overall, I think individually, we all want to be honest and helpful and take care of our customers. And if you do that and you let that shine through, your business is going to grow and grow and grow. And you're going to get the sales to prove it. So those are my thoughts on the topic. Let me know what your thoughts are and your experiences with this. And in the meantime, happy selling.